maybe
No,
after
I
you
think
switch the stream?
you'll resume. Wait.
Oh, you resume okay lah.
So the next thing is we're setting up different communication channel so that you folks can actually give feedback to improve our show. That will come in announcement soon. We figure out along the way. We're still new in this. It could be a Facebook group. It could be something else. But we will share our ideas and get feedback through the channel that we're going to set up.
Yeah, or let us know
Yeah,
how you want
correct.
us to receive feedback,
Yes.
like email, maybe, I don't know, mailing list.
Correct. So
So anything happening this week? Today is August 22, 2018.
Yes.
And what's happening this week?
One
PyCon.
week for me.
PyCon is happening this week.
Yes. And it's stressful.
When is it again?
Yeah.
This Friday, right?
It's Saturday.
Saturday.
We do conference on weekend. It's a tradition. Which is have pro and con, but that's another story altogether. And next week we will have Merdeka. It's the Merdeka week. So that one we actually have one event happening. Sina Project had a code sprint for one of the infrastructure. We're going to fix one of the code because everyone is on volunteer mode. So we will try to get this is
can we stop a bit? Like wait a bit, because OBS decided to update again.
Well, the stream is still ongoing.
Yeah,
is the stream on?
Because I'm not trying to let it restart. Oh, okay. Let me check. Okay, it's still on. Okay, it's still on. Okay.
All right. So
I managed to stop it.
Next week in Merdeka Day, we will have a code sprint for Sina Project. It will be a beginning of a series of sprint to fix our code and whatever that we need, and also some community engagement.
This is a CNR project, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Of course, next week is we'll try to fix our. Okay, I'm with the Sina Project, which is why I use the word our. So we'll fix Sina Project's people's API. Some of the search function is little broken. That's next week. And we'll be using Python and Django because that's what is written since the beginning. Then we will the Sina project team, we have another sprint soon-ish after next week to deploy the street reporting system, Fix My Street. So that's the closest event we have right now. So anyone knows any event that is not covered last week?
Not that I know of.
Not covered as in.
Okay,
like we didn't talk about it.
Okay, I'll paste it. I just shared the new link, so you guys should actually. That's a live link, which is persisted over the channel. This is basically our channel link. So apparently the event link didn't work because we missed the timeline.
Okay.
So we're the live link is working because I'm watching it right now.
Okay.
And as you can see, we're still new at doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So PyCon, CNR project. Anything else that we have this coming week until the Wednesday? What is happening this weekend? I forgot. There's something happening this weekend.
PyCon?
Well, I guess
PyCon is happening this weekend.
I just want to give the iOS meetup a shout out because I didn't do that on the Sunday episode. It was on Monday, so it's happening like day after, and I wasn't aware of it until like after we closed the stream. So yeah, there was an iOS meetup.
After the fact, right?
After the fact.
Okay.
Third Monday of the week.
So I think starting this week, I think the team could be me. I will be asking different community to actually share their schedule.
Cool.
That actually do shout out on the channel.
And the Golang meetup is happening this next week, Chilo?
Yeah, I actually haven't posted it, so I should actually confirm that like by today.
Okay.
Cool. And I saw that Golang now has a call for proposals.
It's been there since early this year, and also for the Python user group.
Yep.
So yeah, but so far there's 0 entry for that.
Nobody wants to speak on Go. Everyone wants to listen.
It's a common theme here in Malaysia, though.
Yeah, everyone wants to listen.
Yes.
All right. I
That's
think
bad.
any announcement before we move on?
I think that's good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right. So I was on with a scrum with some of the team members in my company, and we were talking about all of these credits and digital money. And it's good that some people spoke saying that we might need to consult lawyers on this because it's digital money. We need to discuss about also the ethical impacts of what actually we're trying to do, and that actually got me to thinking, what is it about software developers and ethics? Because if you remember in 2015 there was this case with Volkswagen where they were caught in the EU uh, falsifying their emissions tests. So basically, if uh, you're in the track where you're supposed to be, the car is being tested for emissions, the software will switch to the uh, EU friendly mode where it will pass emissions. But if it knows that you're not being tested or the car is not being tested, then you actually don't do fuel efficient mode, or you'll fail the test. And they got caught, they got fined. And in one of the transcripts of the hearings, the CEO mentioned that software developers put it there. And I would agree that a software developer definitely put it there. And so I wanted to bring up the point that what is it about, uh, like, what are there anything is there anything that's preventing software developers from put like experiences? Because for me, probably the closest I request I got when I was still working as a Java developer in the Philippines was, so I designed this application. We had SMS before. It was it's you send a number, you send uh, keywords to a short code like 2003, and then it will reply, and then you basically interact with your application. That was like the uh, late 2000s, and that was for betting on race horses. And that time I didn't actually know if there was actually a racehorse that comes back from the API. I just basically what I was just doing is that parsing the API, which horse won, and then just forwarding it to the user. So that's probably the closest I got to having an ethical question. Does anyone here had something similar?
So in a bank, they tend to so one of my first job. No, my first job is actually in a test center for Standard Chartered, and there's a reason why they set up a test center.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bank, and they actually need to test the reliability of software. Unfortunately, you might thought that a bank might use safety feature like formal methods and all that, right? Not actually true, except for I think the Singapore team do it. But how do they mitigate that? They actually by having tests. Unfortunately, the way we do software here's my opinion, the way we do build software is essentially is very compartmentalized. Uh, Very compartmentalized, and we usually just receive and do it.
So we get a task from whoever's asking us to do something, and then we just do it.
Yeah. So I've been receiving one of my job is setting up a video streaming infrastructure for some dodgy activity. But let's say, because I know the guy, I don't want to say what kind of activity, but
video streaming and dodgy activity.
setting up those
connect the dots.
Setting up those hardware by default is legal. It's a streaming software, and streaming software can actually do everything like what we're doing, or streaming video for friend and all that. So that is actually reasonable by default. Things that we do is actually very innocent if you look at it individually. But the thing is, our industry is very interesting. Okay, a construction need to be verified by a civil engineer.
Yep.
Correct.
Yeah.
But when a building crash down, landslide for whatever, is the engineer that signs off that liable owner, right? Software, but let's go back further. the people that are not get sued are the workers, the machine companies, the contractors. Maybe the contractor that built the particular part, but not other contractor. Software industry is essentially like this. Often we are built in silos. By rank, we are pretty much like construction workers.
Yeah, they're just an assembly line.
Correct. Even though we are not exactly construction workers, we are creative workers. But by rank and position, we are pretty much there, and we work on different level of. We are working on different things, and each of it can be very innocent. So
are you making the argument that we are basically tools? So it's not the gun that kills, but the person who fires it, something like that?
No, it's yes and no. This is actually one level. The level, so the point of that story right now is often the type of project that we do is very innocent. So we can't always be liable to bad practices unless we directly involve. But software industry do not require sign off. We require to implement feature. So you do not have to implement feature, but in reality that is not true. Why power structure? But that's my opinion. So often the question you asked just now is what stopped us from saying no? The answer is nothing stopped us from saying no, other than the fact that we will get fired.
Well, but that's a big demotivation to say no, right?
Yeah.
Well,
because for a long time, software developers are not getting sued unless they're directly involved in hacking.
Yep.
What do you think, Jimmy and Chi Leong?
I could draw some points from that bookie site job that I was approached to do like way back. That time the guy who approached me, he basically explained this loophole in the system where it's kind of the same thing like how an engineer sign off something and therefore it's the engineers or the senior engineer that sign off the project liable. It's the one who's liable. It's in this case it's like depending on where the server or the site is hosted, the laws that applies will be following the laws where the server resides instead of like where the service serves. So even though it's serving Malaysian clients and gambling, online gambling illegal here, but as long as it's somewhere that is legal, that is fine. So that was the loophole. I didn't do it. It's not like I have a very clear, good conscience or something like that. I think I was a bit cautious, but the main reason is that I don't think I can do it like back then. It actually requires some very very sophisticated I'd say asynchronous programming. So the thing about bookie sites is that your what's the thing called, the betting number, or what's that called again?
The probability.
No, there's a word for it. I can't remember. So
okay,
think of, it's like the betting scale, or it's like how much you win per game or something like that. So depending on the game, you get different scale per se, and then because different teams, different players, and things like that, and different bookies will have different rates. So if you update your site a little bit slower, you are susceptible to be gamed by other bookie sites. So it's like, okay, you have to write a pretty high availability site that is fast enough so that the number you bet on or the scale that you bet on is accurate enough so that it won't lose you money. So again, that's.
So, but if, for example, this same person offers you now with more, because now you have more experience, you know how to do it now. Like, where will you draw the ethical line?
Well, I think this is personal. Because I don't think I will do it. Just because of my personal belief. But again, if you're talking about ethical behavior or ethical, yeah. So of what an engineer can do, it's more or less up to you personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a personal thing because you want to look at ethics. People can have different level of people's moral compass is actually different between different people.
Yeah.
For me, I don't think gambling is wrong. Just that as long as it doesn't involve kids and stuff. But I won't actually accept that kind of project myself. But I don't find it's anything problematic. Like, for me, it's a different kind of taxation system.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, the syndicate that run those are usually quite dodgy. So yeah.
But what I'm worried about is the similar to the Volkswagen one, which I used to have a bit of experience working with, where it involved academics trying to ask us to manipulate the result of the machine from the instrumentation. So like this kind of like, yeah, it might not cause any harm to anybody, but in the short run. But like, did we? I mean, my question is, did I, like, by doing this, enable them, this kind of engineers with questionable ethics to graduate and be the authorities of this within this field? So,
also, the type of software that we do is actually very riskless. We don't have. I can say for sure most of us here do not have chance to work with critical system.
Well, not necessarily. If you've been working with GDPR, that's already something, right?
Okay.
Like, are you putting in enough processes in your system so that not just any developer or employee has access and can actually read customer data, because it's a privacy thing?
Yes,
that's already very very close to what we're doing.
Last year, this is not an issue. It goes back to the problem. Ethics is not a problem until it enforced into law. So
yeah, because right now what we can do is we can just say, oh yeah, we're GDPR compliant, and it's up to the it's up to the personal developer's ethics or ethical inclinations to just not look at customer data. But there are not actually real access audit laws or any kind of preventions. And what I've been reading about that, and Uncle Bob from the Solid Framework Java guy, he writes a lot on articles. He mentioned that if doctors, engineers, or accountants, they have a code of ethics, and why don't software engineers also have a code of ethics?
Well, one of the story for Computing Professional Bill. You know Computing Professional Bill 2014?
No, sorry, I haven't.
What is that?
Read that.
You might want to
Malaysian
brief us about
Computing
that.
Professional Bill 2014.
Yeah. You just
Okay,
do a briefing here.
The Computing Professional Bill 2014 is actually a bill proposed to have computing professionals, i.e., software developer, to actually work similarly as engineers and other professional organizations.
So you mean a licensing
Correct.
thing? You
It's
have
about
to be
licensing.
licensed.
It's caused a big deal because what happened is they shift the issue to training, and so that only university student or certain people need to have different tier of tests to actually test for to actually join this group, to be licensed to work with critical software. In this case, the critical software definition is actually very vague. So any government run software, i.e. website, can be critical. So, but there's two reasons why it got opposed. One, the law is very bad, and second, software development is actually very cool in a way that the barrier entry is very low. So, and often a project can be done with one person, right? So, and for construction industry, a small closet, you don't actually need certification and all that to sign off. Often, I don't think so. But that is like a one-person job. Sometimes two. But software development is like you can have one person that build the whole building. That's the analogy.
Yeah.
Because the barrier to going is very low, and the thing we build can be very big in scope, and you do not need a lot of people. So what I'm telling you that is another reason why people are against the computing professional build is also the status quo. It changed the status quo directly. So individual that is not educated, that is very hard for them to get licensed, are not able to build the type of project that we can do right now.
From what I understand is also it became illegal to practice if you don't have the license. It's just like doctors.
Yes.
So you can be imprisoned just for writing software without a license.
So that is bad law.
I think one of the stuff is where concern is the execution. They choose a very small party of people to represent the whole field, and they didn't of course, on my part, I actually prefer to standardize this, but those people that supposed to be certifying us and stuff needs to be updated as well.
Oh yeah, so that is actually one of the role of setting up an organization, a certifying body. So almost all engineers and lawyers actually had a certifying body. So for lawyers, the bar require you to pass CLP to be licensed as a lawyer. Those are involved tests and all that. Engineers need to have certain tests to pass as well. Software developer and engineers, they are relatively wide, but they're relatively focused. Civil engineer is on building, mining engineer on mining, right? Software development, we don't have that kind of classification. Anytime any of us that have no experience in machine learning can actually pick up machine learning and practice machine learning right now. And that's to formalize a profession as a body, make it harder, meaning you can only practice things that you are not certified with behind the scene.
Yeah.
Actually, that's actually one worry about setting up organization. And to have a sign off by an engineer and all that usually means require a law to check an organization, to have a group of certified people to sign off on the project.
But isn't it both a blessing and a curse to just have, for example, someone knowing, just happen to learn how to do machine learning, doing a startup and creating jobs because of that. But at the same, so that's a blessing because it's so much faster you can just learn it and then implement it. But also a curse because how do you know that this person actually understood what the models they're doing, and then whatever it is that you're creating, are you accidentally building in racism, for example, into those AI learning models that you were doing? And what Uncle Bob was saying is that the more that these things, that it becomes obvious that software developers are the entry is so much easier, that anyone can do it, that it's also so much easier for the bad elements to come and enter the profession, the more that governments are likely to introduce regulation, such as what you were talking about, the Malaysian bill of 2014, computer professionals, because this is exactly what government does. It creates regulation to protect its citizens. And if the software development field starts posing a danger to the citizens because of bad software in general, or unethical software, that like the Volkswagen controversy, for example, or Google trying to enter China and doing custom what do you call this, monitoring stuff, privacy related stuff over there, then the more that governments will try to protect itself through the only thing that it knows how to do, which is creating laws and regulation. And actually, I don't know if that's good or bad.
I mean,
that's actually a very good question, actually.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Jimmy was saying something.
I mean, the thing is, when we talk about organization, company-wise or state-wise, we all have different agendas. So, like for example, the state will protect its citizens by introducing laws, and also companies would definitely not want to, get into any trouble. Say, for example, conforming to the GDPR, for example. But like those are usually handled by introducing like NDAs, any kind of regulating the people that have access to it, proper audit on their laptops and everything. There are ways to achieve that by standardization. So not just regulations, but I guess when it comes to ethics, I see it more like on the professional level, or to me as a personal level thing. So because when I look at the profession that we are doing, either we learn programming through like our university, college, or you learn it through like going through tutorials and things like that. We do. I do consider ourselves as craftsmen, and I think there is a pride that needs to be attached to that. So, and if you think that, I mean, I think that if it even boils down to the fact that you shouldn't write code that is shitty, and then you leave the company, and then you pass that shitty code to somebody else. That's ethics, to me, it doesn't even need to be that big, as in like something that is touching like legal stuff.
Yeah. So actually, there's a best thing that happened throughout history of software development. SQL injection is so common. Almost no web framework nowadays doesn't come with protection. Notice that?
Yeah.
There's like, because it's so bad, they have to implement. Even PHP had a default library for the handle database that protects you from that.
Yeah.
Right. Good web framework have some good default for security. So software development is so the best thing happening right now is for practices. If we can encode it in the framework, it will become a practice, and that actually happened in software development. You already see that in open source.
Where does one draw the line? You mentioned that bequeathing bad code to your colleagues when you leave is unethical, and some people won't draw the line there. Some people will actually draw the line where it's already borderline illegal. That is already unethical. I see Chileong nodding a lot, like he's agreeing a lot with the thing.
He's been cleaning a lot of shitty code from other people, is it?
Yeah. It doesn't stop people from from causing, especially causing harm. But how far can you go? Like how deep does the system like? If your library is used by somebody to do probably something like like child trafficking site, do you feel? I mean, how far does it? I mean, how far does it go?
I mean, not as far. I mean, not to go as far as child trafficking, but have you guys heard of Popcorn Time?
Yeah.
The streaming, open source streaming, platform that can stream directly from torrent. So, like, it was kind of like banned by the US government, or some regulation banned them, and they just repackaged it into an open source system and gutted the illegal stuff, which is just basically which is technically just the torrents for like copyrighted movies. So it's still streaming, it's still serving those non-copyrighted service, but at the back you can always just drop those torrent in and you can just use the same thing. So is it ethical? Like is it ethical to just open source the thing that enables that?
I think it's
some people. So it is the use. So
you need to look at the right use. So in this case, remember the building I'm talking about. So usually it's the people that works directly on the project, and usually it's the head of the project that'll be responsible. But okay, so it's a very simple scenario, right? Your project had a security incident. Okay, the project had a security incident. What caused it? Think about it for a while.
It can either be a mistake or something consciously, a consciously introduced backdoor.
Okay, now, let us go further. As you build a project, is security audit a priority in most of our project?
Yeah, well, it depends on the person who's managing your project and how
it goes down to the intent. Yeah, it's not the like if you purposely do it, then it's the intent that matters.
Yeah, but Swimming actually got this this interesting thing that where we are usually in the position to influence the project, saying, "Hey, we need to do a security audit," and is it up to us in our sense of ethics to actually convince our project manager, hey, we need to have a security audit because we are not experts at security? Or we just let this project manager say, oh, it's fine, we're only like at 5,000 people per month anyway, it's not, nobody's going to hack us, nobody's going to get customer data from us. And then just leave it there, right?
Until it happens, right?
Until it happens.
That's actually the common practice right now, believe it or not. That's actually a common practice.
But yeah, so that's so that's the thing. What is the intention of you on that particular point in time when you had the ability to influence whether the security audit gets prioritized or not? Like that can be something small or innocent, but again, the question there, it's a very difficult question. As usual, all ethics questions are difficult. Like, where do you draw the line between what is ethical and what's not?
So often we almost always draw the line at cost.
And obviously, according to the law, the law requires you to have security audit on your credit card information, then obviously you have to adhere to that. But above that, I don't think there is any like that is not like that doesn't like originate from the need for like to protect some sensitive data. So I mean, it depends on your app, I guess.
But it used to be passwords are not that sensitive. Think about it.
Yeah.
Then people discover that
plain text still, right?
Yes.
As a result,
but isn't that so? Isn't that solved by education? Like right now, it's less of a problem because almost all tutorials will tell you how to hash a password properly, whereas before, like a decade ago, it's just okay. You save it in a database,
like
and that's how you do it, right?
If you fail to let's say you have a blog post, a tutorial, and you forget to mention like how to like properly store your password and stuff, you get a lot of community backlash. Kind of a self-regulating ecosystem on its own. But one of the concern about from a lot of non-technical people, especially the politicians, is that negligence because of the ease of access, negligence, even though in a very minor scale, like everybody can pick up programming, but a simple mistake can cause a lot of harm. I think that's what most people most of the non-tech people are concerned about.
Yes. So another good example is credit card number. I know we had a practice of storing credit card number and all that, but not too long ago, the site that store credit card number are not really that secure. Yeah.
I think it has to be...
Want to look at even earlier on, when Amazon gets started, everything is encoded on the GET request, GET parameter.
And that means it's on the logs as well. On your logs, because all GET requests are logged.
On the proxies, on everything.
Often, security are not the first thing, and often the practice are built along the way. until when people fail. But the thing is, we just don't have the engineering culture, which is why I don't call myself a software engineer. Why I bring the fact that our software engineering is not real engineering, my argument is they don't have the practice of, we do not always have a practice of making sure failure are not repeated. I mean, sir, think
That's
about
a checklist in normal engineering, right? Supposedly.
Correct. Think about your retrospective. How often do your retrospective turn into a ticket to stop you from doing the same thing from your future project?
And you actually encode that practice into your deployment setup or
Correct.
something like that, right? To make sure it happens.
Or set up or put it as a manual or checklist to be for QAA for manual testing. So
good point.
The practice that we don't have. So I'm not saying that all issues are equivalent to an air crash where investigators go in and encode that for all airplane. I'm saying something simpler. Security are the very few exceptions where we encode best practices. So hashing library is that those are one of those very specialized things. But think about things like when you do manual testing, do people test against rule that say PCA is not PCA compliant, need to redo and all that. So that's some of my concern. You want to look at practice. Our practice is just not there.
Yep.
Or you want to look at something funny. I'm sorry, I'm being critical with our industry, but
no, it's good. It's that's the point of the question. I wanted a heavy topic for our second show, so that
to make it a little lighter, I suggest you look at XKCD 2030. It's called voting software.
Voting. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Randall also had the same, denigrating comments about the software industry, which is like a tongue-in-cheek, sarcastic, but also slightly true commentary on the state of software development.
It's a little extreme, but he's not wrong. He's not 100% wrong.
Yeah, that's what makes a good joke. It's rooted in reality. Sorry for introducing a really heavy topic. Again, there are no, I don't think there are any proper answers to it. I just wanted to open the discussion, and for anyone who's listening right now as well to the show or listening it on the replay, what do you think? Like, where do you draw the line? That's basically the question, right? What about the ethics, and we'll see. Yep. It's a very, again, if we don't do, like what Uncle Bob was saying, if we don't do it ourselves and self-regulate, the government will regulate for us. And they tried already on 2014. There was a backlash, but again, because again, if people keep on making the same mistakes and we're still not learning from our own mistakes, then that's how the government protects itself or protects its people.
But ethics is always a tough problem. I got a feeling we're going to revisit it again and again. But you know what? Leave comment. We want to know.
It's a long one.
Yes.
And
we have a long show today because of technical difficulties. And,
so we added a bonus.
I'm gonna re-upload this afterwards. That's what.
Okay.
Cool. So you will see a less annoying version of this talk. All right. So I think it's a little late right now. I need to wake up early tomorrow.
It's a long day for me as well.
Want to add before we end our show?
Do we have any comments from the previous show or no?
No.
Okay. So a few comments from outside channel is people want to know when is our next show and what the topic is about. The answer is we do not know what we're going to talk about next week.
I think one of the suggestions is pretty close to us is physical and mental health.
Physical and mental health. Yeah. Okay. Well, so Swee Meng just set up a Trello board that's public, right?
No, it's not public.
It is
public.
It is.
Well, I guess now, yeah. Okay, which is public. I think we'll just share the link somewhere.
It's
and you can take a look.
trailer.com/DevKami, I think.
But
Okay.
you know what? We will share the link to our user channel on YouTube.
Okay.
And then you'll see all of the suggested stuff there, and like moving things around until it actually gets like, okay, this is what we're going to be discussing on the next podcast. And that should give you some awareness of what we're trying to talk about. As regarding the schedule, it's still the same. We live stream from Sunday to Wednesday, and we upload on Wednesday, depending on the people's schedule, because we don't have any set schedule yet for streaming, right?
Yes, we don't.
Yeah.
We try to do it on Sunday as much as possible.
Yeah. This is an exception, except for today.
Yes.
Which is on a Wednesday. Okay.
So I think with that, we hope to see you next week, or maybe earlier, because I think I might do some interview during PyCon Malaysia. Let's see how it goes.
Cool. Yeah. Any suggestions? Just send a comment.
Yeah.
And see you again next week.
Yeah. Bye.